Perhaps it's time the Nigerian government tackled the overlapping crisis rocking the sports sector. Today, sports administration in Nigeria is plagued with so much complications, from poor funding, alleged corruption that stinks to the high heavens, reported cases of indiscipline, and the internal power squabbles that makes the journey of sports development in Nigeria a very difficult one. With some of the international sports legal instruments yet to be properly domesticated in the Nigerian constitution, can the sports ministry successfully plot the turnaround plan that would put Nigeria's sports sector back on track? It's question time. Welcome to the program. I'm Benga Ashiru. You may also join in this conversation by sending us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. On this edition of the program, we would be taking up the sports minister, Solomon Dalong, on the numerous issues affecting Nigeria's sports sector. In spite of the reported rot in Nigeria's football administration, I'm constrained not to limit this discussion to football in order not to be accused of simplifying the entire sports issue to football, because there are so many issues left to be discussed. Let's join the Sport Minister, Solomon Dalong, in this exclusive interview. Honorable Minister of Sports, Barrister Solomon Dalong, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Question Time.
You're welcome.
Now, let's take our point of departure in this conversation by examining what exactly is this dispensation's policy thrust regarding sport developments.
Well, under the current administration, which we are all aware is a change regime, sports also is not spared. For sports, we observe that in the past we had what we can refer to as servicing sports. That is a sporting system that only responds to events, to tournaments. And once the tournaments are over, the athletes, the actors fizzle into thin air for another next event. So that has informed our policy thrust of putting in motion a development-oriented sports model. This model of sporting tradition will identify talent, develop the talent, build the talent in order to maximize utility value.
How do you feel about the recent dismal outing of the Super Eagles?
Well, as a person, I didn't take it that far. But measuring the responses from Nigerians and the feelings of Nigerians, I indeed share their sentiment. I was also, to some extent, naive about the economic implication of our not qualifying until when it actually occurred. I had to reflect on the feelings of Nigerians, their expressions, and then looked at it and discovered that crashing out has also enormous economic implications on our economic actors who are involved in sports. So it's not a very good news, but I've already appealed to Nigerians that I believe we will not allow them travel this traumatic road again.
People have said that there is too much indiscipline in the NFL from the part of the soccer administrators, the coaches, the players. Would you agree with that?
That is a statement of fact, and it is indeed the truth. When I met with the board of Nigerian Football Federation on Tuesday, one major thing that came out of that meeting was in the submission of the report about our abysmal performance in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. They identify one, instability. They identify lack of commitment. They identify distraction. They identify internal wrangling, all domesticated within the football administration. So it will not be out of place to express same It is rather expressing the obvious. But I have given it back to them. And I gave them just the last chance. You purge yourself of contempt, or I purge you.
When you talk of surgical operations, are you suggesting a restructuring of the NFF? Do you have such powers?
Well, it is balancing now national interest against power. Yes, if the federation cannot meet our national aspiration, then there is no need pretending that we are talking about having the power or not having the power. The Minister of Sports is presiding over sports development in Nigeria. And if sports is not developing, will he lay claim that he is succeeding as a minister? Something must be done. So when there is cancer, you have to go for operation. You cannot be massaging it because you are afraid of incising, using incisive weapon. Something must be done. So it is not a question of power, but it's a question of balancing national interest against non-performance.
Are you not considering FIFA rules when it comes to interference and interventions? Where do you draw the line between these two?
Well, if the federation has admitted those factors that I have enumerated earlier, then the conclusion is all is not well with them. And FIFA is for progress and not anarchy. So I don't believe that FIFA, the whole essence of the FIFA status is for anarchy to be domesticated. It is for the progress and development of football. So where we are stagnated by internal wrangling, instability, lack of cohesion, distraction, and there is no effort to address them, I don't think FIFA will be singing hallelujah for us or be celebrating us for being successful in these things at the expense of developing football. Of course, it will, if allowed to grow, it will certainly rear its ugly head one day in Zurich.
In this whole journey of restructuring, it's important we look backwards, we trace our history, and one major reference point here is the resignation of the former Super Eagles coach, Sunday Oliseh. Some of his outbursts have been found to be quite revealing. Do you think some of these are worth investigating?
There is much from the outbursts than meeting even the eye. This has to do with, the history of the entire crisis itself, and it dates back to the employment of Stephen Keshi, which, according to the report submitted, indicated that though Stephen Keshi was employed by the Nigerian Football Federation, when his contract expired, the defunct National Sports Commission unilaterally renewed the contract without deference to the Nigerian Football Federation. And that was the beginning of the crisis. And now that flexing of muscles between the Commission and the Federation led to the Federation finally sacking Keshi, which, if you look at the entire drama, it means Keshi was not sacked for incompetence, but power struggle between the Commission and NFF, who had the power to hire and fire. And of course, the Commission won by exercising its power of terminating his appointment. Then comes the employment of Sunday Oliseh, which in itself had so many issues of irregularities and as expressed by many. But the Federation wanted to use Oliseh to stabilize. And of course, since there was a carryover of the crisis those who had suffered from the sacking of Keshi, including even the technical team, which lost out, another one reconstituted under Olise. Of course, this crisis now went over. So in the outburst of Olise, I think there are issues that is worth giving a second thought.
One major issue he raised was the non-payment of his allowances. What do you feel about this?
I took the Federation headlong because the non-payment of allowances, bonuses, and salaries was an agenda. And they admitted that the Federation was owing coaches between 3 to 5 months. Now, locating this argument alongside the outburst, you will agree with me that there are some evidences from the outburst of Olise about the non-payment if you take the period of admission by the Federation.
Are you suggesting the non-payment of allowances was politically motivated to frustrate his performance as a coach?
I don't think so. Rather, I will have preferred to say maybe the Federation did not get its priority right. And that was what I frowned at seriously. And I had to use this word, that when I was in the services, there was a time we were not paid, and our officer in charge was addressing us, and one young man put up his hand and said, "Sir, an empty stomach does not listen to the voice of gospel." And I told them this: you cannot have coaches who are major actors in determining victory, not paid, and you expect them to give in their best. So it's a question of not getting their priority right, because if they have gotten their priority right, certain funds they got, that they use them for other issues like going on seminars outside the country with president, state chairman, at the expense of not paying coaches, was a glorified mark of irresponsibility. And I have given my words that I am only taking that for the last time, and I've directed that they should go and mop up funds and pay.
You may also join in this conversation by sending your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Coming up on Question Time, find out the Sport Minister's comment on football administration in Nigeria after the break.